good. Yeah, how's everything going over there?
Yeah, excellent. We can't complain. It's actually good to see you. We always see you on the videos. Now we actually see you in person.
Yep. Oh, yeah, nice one. Yeah, likewise. Good to talk to you. I don't often talk to a lot of our distributors, actually. We're not a great company in that respect. Like, we don't have a lot of sort of contact with a lot of our customer base.
Okay.
We do communicate quite a lot with our customer service team on Facebook and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of other companies are sort of very heavy in their structure, I suppose, where they have a lot of management tiers and then have a lot of sales reps in each different country or region. And then under that, they might have sales reps within that country, within different sort of, you know, postcodes or zones or whatever. But yeah, we're very much, you know, an online business, which is based purely in the manufacturing side, research and development. And then, you know, we just hope people hear about it and then find out about our products, I guess, which generally seems to work most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk to you about all those things. The only thing I don't want to talk to you about is last weekend's rugby.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I don't really follow the rugby much, I must say, so I can't contribute much there. I was a bit of a spastic at school. I was terrible with balls, and any ball sport, basically, I was really horrendous at. Like, I used to play soccer a little bit, and you know, my main role was the sweeper. So I used to be able to run fast, so I could run towards the ball and then just kick it out. And that was about the extent of my skills as far as balls go.
That's good. So obviously, I mean, KegLand's been really welcomed with open arms. I mean, most of the people that have got KegLand, they've obviously bought it directly from you guys, or they brought it in from the States, or wherever the case is. So I think everyone's really chuffed now that we've started bringing it in. Obviously, our range isn't fully, you know, up to those levels yet. But I mean, I don't think people quite understand the extent or the size of the range that KegLand has. I mean, it's enormous.
Yeah, it's quite big. Like, in total, I think in Australia, we have probably in the vicinity of about 1,500 products in total. But then in China, it's a lot more complicated. So we've got a distribution center in China, which looks after a lot of the manufacturing and distribution. In Australia, we look after a lot of prototyping and that type of thing. So we'll do a lot of R&D and stuff like that, engineering and design work here. But over in China, yeah, we're mainly looking after all the manufacturing distribution. And because we've got 1,500 product lines in Australia, in China, it's sort of many more than that, because then they have to have different voltages for different countries and slightly different standards. We're dealing with the CE standard a lot of the time for Europe, and then yeah, the UL as well in the States, and then, you know, CAA in Australia, and then in Canada there's different standards, and you know, it's just sort of very complicated. So the China office has a really, really complex job on their hands, organizing all the stock for the various different countries. It's a really, really difficult job, I'd say. So I'm glad I'm not part of that bit.
Yeah, I gathered as much. So I'm really glad to hear now we've got that Gen 4 BrewZilla coming.
Oh, yeah, that's super exciting. Yeah.
Can you give us some input on that, or?
Yeah, sure. The Gen 4 BrewZilla, that's something that is going to have a Wi-Fi controller. Am I able to do screen share on this thing, actually? I'll have a look, screen share, I think. Are you able to enable screen share from your end? I think host disable participant screen share. I think maybe if you can enable it somehow there, I can show you some of the stuff in there if you like. Actually, while you're doing that, I'll try to load it up here as well. It takes a few moments.
Not too sure what it's share screen.
Yeah, might be tricky to do that. But basically, yeah, the new Gen 4 has a lot of features. A lot of people did complain that the you know, current BrewZillas, as much as they're very neat to keep all the electronics down the base near the element, because that protects them to some degree from spills, and it keeps everything included without any wires hanging out. That's one of the reasons why I first did it. But I think some people found that you know, the ergonomics of it, having to kneel down on the ground or having to raise the BrewZilla up to a height where you could see the screen, then meant that the malt pipe, when it came out, was very high, and then harder to manage at a height, I suppose. So yeah, one of the things we wanted to do is bring the board up to a nice height. So we've actually got now the display on the BrewZilla Gen 4 mounted up on the side of the unit, where you can also tilt it up and down like that, so it's on a little swivel. And then that unplugs from the base area. So look, I guess, look, it is similar-ish to the Grainfather. Another few things is we have the base of it, which drains out completely because of the shape of the base. It used to be all flat, and now it drains out completely. And we have some really cool CIP functionality as well. So you'll be able to clean the brewery in place standing up. So we had to actually develop a new type of spray jet for the spray arm, because currently, spray jets all look like this. If you look at any spray jet out there, they generally look kind of the same. And, there's probably more than a dozen manufacturers around the world that make similar type of spray jets. There's one with a spiral, like a sort of pigtail, I guess it looks like. And we've tested them all.
Cone shapes and...
There's cone shapes, yeah, that's it. And there's ones with blades coming out. And look, there's quite a lot of styles, but they're all made to suit large pumps. I don't know if you've ever driven one of these, but you need a really large pump, like way larger than what we need in the BrewZilla. So, and to enable us to be able to make like a CIP function in the BrewZilla, we had to then have a very, very efficiently designed spray jet as well. So we've got this new type of rotor spray jet. And that will mean that for the first time, you can buy a very small brewery with a small integrated pump. So we don't have to have a very expensive large pump in there, but still can do a great job of CIP. So CIP is one function in there. The internet connectivity is probably one of the major ones. So I spent a lot of time on the new wrapped gateway. So we've got a portal whereby you can go on there, and then you can track a lot of the temperature on things like the mash and the brew day and stuff like that. And then it'll actually have multiple different temperature options. So you can take a temperature on the display, but then there's also another temperature probe that you can put into the malt pipe. So yeah, because we use a Wi-Fi controller inside the Gen 4, the Wi-Fi controller does two things. It connects to the Wi-Fi directly via 802.11 sort of standard, but it also is able to pick up on other Wi-Fi signals such as Bluetooth as well. So it picks up on Bluetooth, packages up that data, and then it can send it back up to the wrapped portal where all the online information is sort of logged, so you can go back and see historical recipes. But it means that other add-on Bluetooth devices can then work with the BrewZilla, so we can have as I was saying, a separate temperature probe wirelessly, so you don't have to worry about plugging something else in or having more wires, going around the top into the malt pipe and stuff like that. You just sort of stick it in the top, and that can feed data back and package it up with the data which is being sent with the other temperature control data from the main board. So yeah, because it's acting like a Bluetooth relay device as well.
That's not even vaguely similar to the 3.11. I mean, it's totally redesigned by the sound.
Yes, it's quite a big step up. Yeah, this one's taken us quite a lot of work. And when we step up to the Gen 4, it's a whole new architecture, but it will allow us to do lots of other upgrades and add-ons down the track.
So this is
why
actually
we wanted to do it.
Closer to the G70 almost with those sort of functionality.
Kind of. Look, I don't know if the G70 has a Bluetooth repeater function in that one, or how many probes you can put in or anything. I think it's just the one in the base, but I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Okay, so the big question is when
I think the draining out is similar. Yeah, well, I think we'll release them in Australia towards the end of this year. I think it's likely that our batch for Australia always gets stuff first. I'm sorry to say, guys. So we get all the gear first, and then we're kind of the guinea pigs from that perspective. But at the same time, we need to have a very close eye on the gear when it was first released, and then once we're sort of familiar with it well enough, we start sending it overseas. So look, if everything goes well in Australia, I think by the end of this year, we should have a lot of the other electrical approvals for other countries. And then at the start of next year, we'll start to see a lot of those BrewZilla Gen 4s turn up in other countries too.
Okay,
but it's also good for distillation. And that's actually one thing I want to talk to you about as well, because we've got a few new still designs, and the stills in particular, they really will benefit from having the extra Bluetooth probe, which you can then put into for instance, the head of the still. Because at the moment, ideally, you want one controller on the brewery controlling both the temperature in the still head and also inside the boiler, so then you can make smarter decisions in where you are in the distillation run. Only having one probe down at the base at the moment is not really enough to make us good decisions in the distillation process, knowing where we are, when your tails are going to come out and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
That's something that's really important to us. So yeah, we're trying to sort of
that's quite interesting.
More and more for distillation.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention that, that's a valid point. I mean, I didn't really think about that, but yeah, absolutely, because that is definitely a pitfall of distilling with the smaller units. It can be a little tricky, especially if you're inexperienced.
Yeah.
You're not really seeing everything happening in that unit.
Yeah, definitely. And more, I think our distillers are starting to get more and more complex, and they're wanting more information so they can make better decisions. And once that information's available and we've got the processes smart enough to make the decisions for us, it actually means that a lot of these decisions can be, very automated and
just as a point of interest, in Australia, if somebody wants to distill at home, is there a lot of regulations and sort of issues with that?
Yeah, unfortunately there is. It's one of those areas where you probably noticed from the YouTube channel, a lot of stuff we put out, we haven't pushed distillation in a massive way on the channel or anything like that. And it is illegal to distill in Australia without a permit. So a home brewer wanting to distill, look, it's not impossible for them to get a small permit so they can just, distill at home, but it is a lot of paperwork, and a lot of people find that paperwork too arduous. So it's really unusual, even though some of our very small few of our customer bases do have permits for small batches of spirit using things like the BrewZilla. The vast majority do it illegally, I would probably guess. I gotta be careful what I say here as well.
Kind of rings bells, because we have the same thing. In fact, it took us probably close to a year and a half to get the permit to be able to manufacture those sort of things. And a lot of people here in South Africa, they just distill illegally. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate because I think, it's kind of funny. I think the government, they have this sort of fear of it, that the fact that, people might be able to make themselves spirit, which will turn them blind and stuff like that. And they're trying to keep a lid on the whole thing. But at the same time, it means that people like us, we can't openly talk about education and best practice and do things the best possible way a lot of the time. And we sort of err on the side of caution and just sort of try to stay a little bit closer to the edge where we're not sort of pushing too much resources into it. And that's a shame, because I think actually, it actually makes it a lot less safe if we don't educate customers really well, rather than just trying to, eliminate anybody from doing it. So one of these days, I think we'll legalize it. A lot of people say that in New Zealand, even though they're much smaller than us, in some way, from a litigious point of view, they're more forward thinking and more advanced. So they've legalized distillation down there. So I tend to think eventually it'll happen in Australia. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I hope so. Another interesting product that I've noticed that I've tried to buy, but I see I can't get yet, is that PCO 38, the tapping head.
The PCO, the 38 one. Oh yeah, that's a new one actually. Yeah, I actually got units here right next to me. So the PCO 38 stuff. So in manufacturing, because one of the things we've always tried to do at KegLand is we try wherever possible. It's been one of our major ambitions. It's like, because when I first started in home brewing, I was like a poor uni student, stuff like that, and really struggled. I was like, I didn't have any money and stuff like that. And I suppose some of that sympathy, I have some sympathy for people getting into the hobby, and kegging is quite expensive. And, I think KegLand's always tried to reduce that threshold where people can afford to get into it. And I think that's sort of something that definitely these PCO 38 kegs can do that. So there's the bottle itself. This is an 8-litre one. We've also got a half-size 4-litre one, which is currently in manufacturing. Now, this has taken quite a long time to do, because if we just made this out of straight 100% PET, this particular sample straight 100% PET, sorry, I'm probably picking up the wrong sample here. There's another one here, which is a triple layer keg, so it's actually got multi-layer in the wall. So had we just gone with single layer PET like this, it would have allowed a lot of oxygen transmission through the wall of the plastic. And well, when I say a lot, small amounts, but enough that it would significantly reduce the shelf life of beer, and the beer would oxidize slowly over time. So after, say, 2 months, you would find a light colored lager, you'd be noticeably start to take on a bit of color and get darker. And the other thing is it would just taste more cardboardy and stuff like that. So not as noticeable in dark beers, stouts and so forth, but yeah, definitely light beers will suffer with very little oxygen exposure. So that's why people are doing oxygen-free transfers and stuff like that. But these kegs, these will be really inexpensive. Everybody will be able to get into kegging, and it means that what you can do is put beer into a bottle like this, or like this rather, and then put the cap on. And if you wanted to give a keg to a friend, you know, you no longer have to trust your friend so much with $150 piece of stainless steel. You can just give them one of these, and if it doesn't come back, not the end of the world, because it's only going to be a few bucks. But then these will also then need some type of tapping head. So there's a bit more cost in the tapping head, but because you can just screw on a normal bottle cap, you don't necessarily need to give them the more expensive bottle cap. So I think for sharing beer and giving beer to friends and stuff like that, I think these will be like a really, really great option, allowing people to share beer a lot more easily. Eventually, we've got some other really cool innovations with for commercial use, where commercially people could package beer in these, and then they could dispense with another cap as well. But that's sort of the early stages of development. So
is that product? Are we going to be able to get that soon?
Very soon, yeah. I think this one, we're going to release these in Australia, I think, towards the end of this year. So it'll be starting next year when you start to get these plastic PCO kegs. So we recently just submitted these new triple layers off for oxygen transmission testing and that type of stuff, and we've got a very high level of confidence, because there's a lot of data out there about triple layer PET and multi-layer preforms in general. So we're already pretty sure we're going to get the result we need. So I don't think there'll be too many other hiccups along the way getting that product to market. It's already meeting all the burst pressure tests, but the oxygen transmission tests hadn't been completed. But yeah, I think it will be able to have oxygen transmission rate comparable to a stainless steel keg. So when you do a triple layer, it's almost gives you glass-like properties with regards to oxygen transmission.
That's incredible. I mean, that's going to be incredible in the market now. So just as a point of interest, so people understand, what sort of time frame are you looking at on these sort of products for development? I mean, this is obviously not just a month or two. I mean, we're talking months, I assume.
Yeah,
years,
there's some products that start off, we think, are going to be really simple. And, we just recently released the wrapped fermentation chamber. And that's something we thought, look, we've done lots of fridges before. Like, we've done kegerator fridges and designed them and released them usually, in less than 12 months. And that's when we're really pushing very, very hard. But with the wrapped fermentation chamber, that's one where it took us a lot longer. It ended up taking us about 2 years. So that process, was quite slow, but it was very involved in the sense it was the first time we had ever made like a fridge essentially with a heating device in there. So that put it down a very funny path with safety standards and stuff like that. So we had to do a lot more testing on making sure if, let's say, the heating relay actually got held on, and you also get hit with a 50-degree ambient weather extreme heat event or something like that, and then the heating just stays on continuously or something. So you had to put it through all these sort of additional levels of testing, where normally we just weren't used to that in refrigeration testing and so forth. So basically that was a complicated process. But some simple products, like we're getting better at some simple products, like just making an injection molded cap like that. I mean, that was sort of a relatively simple product. And, in a simple injection mold like that, we can knock something out usually in a week with design, and then within another, say, month or month and a half, we've got injection molds finished, and then, we can, then start shipping the product shortly after we've done testing. So, some products are really easy and some products are really complex, but we've got about, if we look back over the past 3 years, we've had on average probably a new product release every sort of 6 weeks or something like that. So it's a pretty aggressive release schedule when you think about it. And because some products take between 2 months and up to 2 years, it means at any one time we need to have sort of like, almost 7 or 8 products which are currently in prototyping or development stage.
Okay, yeah, so that's good. Now, quick question for you now, the wrap system.
Yep.
Is that, I see, obviously there's a few different products in that and different shells for it. Can you give us some idea of that? Because that's obviously new. We don't have it yet. I see
Yeah,
you'll
sure.
be able to buy that. It's not, I see,
Yep.
I don't have access to it yet, but I assume I'll be getting access to that soon.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. You'll see a lot of our price lists for guys like yourself. All of them will start to get populated with a lot of the Wrapped stuff very soon. So Wrapped is our new sort of family, I guess, of internet connected stuff. So yeah, it'll be basically stuff which uses all the Wi-Fi compatible chips. A lot of them will have that same Bluetooth repeater function that I was talking about on the brewery. So for instance, the same thing will happen with so for instance, if we're a Wrapped pill, which is sort of a little bit like the tilt hydrometer, except the tilt hydrometer, it's only a Bluetooth device firstly, so it doesn't, so that therefore if you want to basically get, you know, that Bluetooth signal up to the internet where it's useful, then you either have to use your mobile phone and you have to go right next to the product, which is kind of annoying, kind of defeats the purpose of having a wireless product in my opinion. But the other thing is, the Bluetooth signal is very short. It only transmits over quite a short distance as well. But we wanted to make sure that the Wrapped pill was able to be used with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now, Wi-Fi uses a lot more energy. So these small battery devices will go flat over the period of, let's say, 3-4 months, let's say. And we're still doing some more optimization. We might be able to even push it out to 6 months when we sort of, do a little bit more optimization in reducing the CPU clock rate and, number of cores we're using on the chip and stuff like that and so forth. But anyway, that device will essentially communicate with the fridge. So if you do have one of the Wrapped chambers, because it can pick up on the Bluetooth beacon, you can actually switch off the Wi-Fi in that instance and use the actual fermentation chamber as a Bluetooth repeater as well. Therefore, meaning that that battery will then last you many years rather than, many months. So, it's really exciting to have a family of products like that where we can plan to release this stuff so it can sort of help each other, I suppose, and work better as a family of products. Like, I think we did try to engage Tilt actually a long time ago and say, can you work with us, because we've got these ideas to do this and so this, that and so forth. But they're just quite frankly non-responsive, so they weren't interested in developing. So that's when we knew we had to develop more of this stuff in-house so we can make it compatible with each other and simply give customers a better experience. So it's been a big job, because up until a couple of years ago, we didn't really do much of that software and firmware development. But now we've, lucky enough, we've found a couple of guys who have been really fantastic, Trent and Chris, to work with. And those guys have just been awesome, and they've been doing a lot of the firmware development and software development for the web portal. So, in the past, for instance, with a fermentation profile, a lot of people talk about profiles where they do a bulk fermentation, then step it up to do things like a diacetyl rest. And then once they've done a diacetyl rest, they crash chill for a certain period or whatever. That's, most beers are sort of somewhere along that style. But those fermentation profiles, we've only ever really known them as, fermenting at a certain temperature over time. However, if we can start to get things like the Wrapped hydrometer talk with the Wrapped fermentation chamber, or temp controller for that matter, then those products can work really well together. And instead of just making an assumption that a certain degree of fermentation is going to be complete over a certain number of days, which we never really know, it's just a bit of a guess in a temp profile, then we can start using much smarter data and actually using the hydrometer reading to step the temperature up and down, or should I say the velocity of change of the hydrometer reading. So it's more so how quickly those readings are changing rather than a specific hydrometer reading. We're just generally chasing for that information. But that stuff and that integration will allow a whole new almost language to come out, because instead of people talking about temperature profiles over time, it's temperature profiles over time and gravity. So that is the exciting part, because it will make fermentation literally something that can be done by a computer, completely autonomously. So for me, I guess that's what the Wrapped portal is all about. It's bringing that information together and just make it a lot easier for guys to make really great beer, even if they have no idea what they're doing.
That's actually very exciting. I mean, that's a really exciting range of products. I think the guys can look forward to some seriously good stuff coming now. And I see the price was also very good. I mean, that little Wrap pull was, I think it was $45. So
that's it. Yeah,
450 Rand on our side.
so that's I don't know what the tilts are currently going for over in South Africa, but I imagine they're quite a lot more.
Yes. So, I mean, that's
there might
even
be
that price
4
is
times as much or
fantastic.
something.
And then you're linking, like you say, onto that whole portal, which changes everything.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a large part of our company is also trying to be efficient in what we do. So when I was talking about when there's not much management sort of tiered structure, we also don't really have a lot of, we try to be as efficient as possible. We work with distributors who can generally take big shipments. So most of our distributors take whole container loads. That makes the shipping really efficient. And then it's consolidated in China. So we consolidate whole containers of mixed sort of stuff. Like a lot of other, like if somebody in your position would have to go and buy a tilt, you would have to then, you can't ship a container of tilts. So that'd be like probably, several 100,000 worth number of units or something in a container because it's so small. So therefore you go to less than container load or air freight shipment. That makes it less efficient. And, because we're a one-stop shop, people can buy quite a large range. That means that we make it efficiently and we get it out our door as efficiently as possible. But then a lot of our distributors are also able to get it into their hands and then distribute that really efficiently as well. So I think, by being a one-stop shop does really make the whole process logistically make a lot of sense for guys like yourself, hopefully.
Yeah, no, definitely. So with all your years of experience, if you had to say to somebody who's starting in home brewing, give them a tip or say to them, follow 1 or 2 processes, what would that be?
Oh, that's tricky. Yeah, I think part of it, well, obviously there's the easy stuff, easy parts of that question, which are like, make sure you just sanitize well, is probably still number one, cleaning. And, that's all, it's half of our job as brewers, I suppose. But then there's the other parts, probably to have a continued education yourself and to go and pursue good practices and develop recipes. It really takes good note taking. So I think that would probably be my other biggest tip, is to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're taking good enough notes. I mean, the reality is we're in a hobby where it can take weeks, if not sometimes up to months, to get a result you can taste. And just no matter how good our memory we think it is, months later, we often forget exactly what we put in that beer or what we did to make that uniquely different to the other, beer which flunked, for instance. So, I think taking good notes across the processes. But once again, that's sort of why we've got the Wrapped portal. It's because we wanted the note taking to be essentially as automated and organized as possible. So, we hopefully, with that type of system, people can just log everything up to the internet and they don't have to think about it too much. Yeah. But note taking is very important for consistency and that continued education of how to use ingredients, how to get the most out of the particular hops or yeasts you're after, or tweaking that recipe and working out exactly what you did that particular time so you can compare it and tweak it again in future. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, so from my side, I mean, geez, thanks so much for talking to us. I mean, really appreciate it. And I mean, it'd be really great if we could do this maybe in a couple of months again, catch up with you once we've got these new products. Yeah. And
definitely. No problem at all. Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, it's good to talk to you guys because the time zone at least overlaps in a decent way. I have some customers where I do these sort of web conferences and stuff like that, and like in Norway, I have to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that, or the hours over in like the States don't line up that well, depending on which side of the coast I'm talking to. But yeah, definitely, it's a lot nicer for me. It's 4 o'clock here. It's really no inconvenience at all for me.
Almost time for a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Keith, thanks very much. I mean, we really appreciate your time, and it was great talking to you. And thanks for that info on the product. And
Yep, beauty. Yeah.
One quick question: are you still going to fit in that new BrewZilla?
Yeah, I hope so. Look, I would recommend the 100 litre for that type of experience. It was very skinny. I was really cutting me under the armpits there. It's not the 65. The 65 is not my size, but the 100 litre hasn't been released yet, so it didn't go in the video, unfortunately. But yeah, awesome. To be honest with you, it's a bit hot on the feet, I'd say as well. So anybody thinking about that, I probably can't talk about this in a web conference in our American customers because it'd be too litigious. People would actually start jumping in BrewZillas and then cooking themselves. So, but hopefully, it's not as litigious in South Africa.
No. I thought that was very funny.
But yeah, it's a bit of fun. We do have a bit of fun around the office here, and yeah, shooting videos. Often sort of play around quite a lot with that type of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Keith, thanks very
No
much,
worries.
and we'll chat again.
Yeah, will do. Okay.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
No problem. Pleasure.
Cheers.
Okay. Yeah.